You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Shawn Wilkie, and along with my awesome co host, we interview the innovators in this space every week. Ivan, please go ahead and get us started.
Hey, I'm Ivan Zach. Really excited to introduce our guest today, and Tomsic. Anne is the CEO and founder of Preventive Vet, a leading educational platform focused on preventive pet wellness, behavior, and safety. Since its establishment in 2014, Preventive Vet has benefited nearly 1 million pet owners monthly and is trusted by veterinarians worldwide. Their book series, 101 Essential Tips, serves as a valuable client educational tool used globally by veterinarians. Anne and her team also provide consultation and content development service to top pet health companies in North America. With her visionary leadership, Anne has revolutionized the pet wellness industry, inspiring and educating individuals on the importance of preventive care for their furry companions. Anne, welcome to the show. Thank you for finding the time.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us all about it. What do you do? What is Preventive Vet? And how do you help millions of pets?
Yeah, we are one of the few solely dedicated to pet owner education companies. That's all we do. It's what we focus on a daily basis. So we have two sides of our organization. One is direct to pet owner. So when you have clients and pet owners out there searching Dr. Google for answers to their questions, we work really hard to be at the top of that search list so that they're getting something of quality that's medically accurate and appropriate for their needs, as well as supporting the veterinary profession. On the other side of our organization, we work directly with veterinarians who utilize our education, whether that's directing their clients to our website because it's a valuable, a reliable, trusted resource, or they purchase some of our educational materials to hand out to their clients.
So tell us about the product. So you have the series of books, so 101 essential tips. And is that like a client education material in the waiting room, or where do you provide that?
Yeah, so we do have 101 Essential Tips book series. There are three titles currently, two more coming out this year for senior pets. So the health and safety books, there's two of them, one for dog, one for cats, focuses on preventive measures, things that pet owners are not going to Google. We're not proactive as human beings in terms of trying to prevent things. It has to be pushed to us. So those books bought in a physical format are often put into welcome kits by veterinary practices for their new cat and dog owners. And then our digital versions of the books are also utilized to send out in a digital format if a practice is so inclined and has the capacity of working digitally.
And how did all of this start? And then a nice kind of question is what's happening in the future for Preventive Pet? Where are you guys going?
Yeah, so this started, I was on the management team at Trupanion Pet Insurance, and I was seeing the large amount of claims that were coming in, and rightly so being paid. However, in discussing that with veterinarians that I had met there and through my course of working at Trupanion, realized that so much could have been prevented if something simple had been known by the pet owner. They didn't need a medical degree to have avoided some of these tragedies. And they're costly, they're heartbreaking, and obviously the pet is suffering as a result. So it just seemed like education needed to be the focus and it needed to be pushed out because we do our research online and we have the capacity and the capability of doing that. But if we don't know what we don't know, we're not looking for it. So I really felt that veterinarians needed to be at the center of pushing that information. They are great at doing it in the exam room. They're talking about all kinds of things in the exam room and providing that educational framework, but they don't have time to do it all. You can't speak about heat stroke for a breaky pet. You can't speak about toxicities. You can't speak about some of those things that are lifestyle focused. So our books allow them to give something that goes home with that client, gets discussed with the family. A lot of our veterinary customers have shared stories, and pet owners have shared it with us as well. That the ones with children, they sit around the dining room table and discuss these tips. They're really short, bite sized tips. They discuss one a day, talk about how it meets and fits into their lifestyle. So it's a very family friendly resource, and it's preventive and it supports what's being discussed in the exam room.
It's very interesting, and for it's kind of one of those things that is an afterthought. To be honest, if I'm thinking about the hospital, I'm like, okay, I need to buy these meds, inventory. I need to set up the OR room. I need to make sure that I have practice management system. So there's all of these expenses that hit me all the time as the veterinarian. And then when I'm thinking, well, client education, I can educate my clients and everything. And then so obviously since 2014 and the footprint that you have, you've been successful. So, how do you interest a veterinarian to say, okay, this is also an investment, and you need to make sure that this is something that is taken care of, and you are the best choice for that?
Sure. So there have been studies recently that show and demonstrate that pet owners want information. And they see obviously their veterinarian at the center of their pet care ecosystem. And that has been challenged over the years. You know, pet owners see themselves as the at the forefront of taking care of their pet, which is ultimately true. But education is far more than just saying a few words to a client and getting them to buy into a vaccine or buy into a parasiticide protocol. It is all the things that go into care. And the 2015, I mean, it's a long time ago, but the 2015 pet health State of the Pet Health study by Banfield showed there was a discrepancy between what is preventive care. And pet owners feel preventive is exercise, diet, mental well being, emotional well being. And so we have to meet them there. And how are you, as medical professionals, going to do that? I mean, it's ridiculous to expect that you can speak to all those things. So pet owners want this information, they expect it from their veterinarian. So seek out ways to incorporate it into your protocol and utilize your entire team. It's not just you as a veterinarian, it's the entire team that can participate in information exchange.
So, Anne, that all makes tons of sense. I totally understand where you're coming from. What's your business model? How do you make money?
So we have veterinary products, these books that we have. Pet owners can buy them directly on our site, but that's again, pet owners are not seeking this stuff out. So it really is the veterinarian who needs to provide it. So they buy it, it's 50% off. So they buy a physical book and they put it in welcome packs, or it's perks for wellness plans or whatever that is that they want to distribute this. And then these books are also available in digital format for a yearly subscription, unlimited use. So you can give all the books to every client. You can distribute it as you wish. And it's a simple addition into a protocol, into putting it on if it's a link on your invoice, on your discharge notes. We also have a product in our subscription that's called information prescriptions. And these are digital supercharged discharge notes. And they're in addition to the custom discharge notes that you would write out for your client. So you have a pet that comes in for diabetes, you're giving them obviously very custom discharge notes. But we know because we have pet owners coming to our site every day, we know what questions and what confuses them. We have created these information prescriptions to address what is it? How did it happen? What is it that I should do? How do I know something is going wrong? How do I know something is getting better? And how do I prevent this if it's a preventable thing in the future? So it's very simply laid out. It answers a lot of questions that people might have heard the answers to in the exam room, but they don't remember. I mean, you get flooded with information. We don't have medical degrees, so we can't retain all of this. So it's something that they go home with, they can discuss with the other family members, which is also in Dr. Natasha Janke's study on pet owner veterinary communications, is one of those challenges for veterinarians. There are multiple people in a family that need this information. And sometimes they will explain it to one spouse, and then the next day, and we've heard it time and time again, that client will call back up and say, "Can you tell everything you told me now to my husband?" And I mean, that's not a sustainable model in terms of communications. So we provide within our digital subscription those information prescriptions as well.
So, is it prescription per client? Like the model is built per client, or is it per hospital, and then you have unlimited use? And then, I guess, in addition to that, what kind of conditions and how many do you cover for the condition-based sort of client discharge instructions?
So the yearly subscription is an unlimited distribution. So You can utilize these as much and as often as you want. We started out with the top 20 conditions for dog and cat. So everything from ear infection to dental extractions to after care for surgery, etc. We are adding on constantly to that. We now have a set of behavior information prescriptions. So if you have a dog that presents with what the pet owner especially feels is separation anxiety, that is a complex topic to discuss, and certainly you wouldn't have the time or perhaps the expertise to discuss it thoroughly. You can share an information prescription on how to deal with and cope and change your environment at home to help with separation anxiety. So behavior is now a component of our information prescriptions.
Is there a chunk size? So let's say you have an information, and I don't know how it's structured, but let's say I'm talking about something like, I don't know if you have the cruciate, maybe rupture as an information sheet. And then is it just like a one sheet for all? Because one of the things that I've been sort of fascinated with, and we're actually trying to build this, what I call condition based marketing, that's my inside sort of name for this, is that when I early diagnose someone, let's say, typical thing, the dog comes in with a cruciate, you know what it is, even without taking an x ray, you explain it to the owner, but they just saw their dog limping. They expect, a pill of Tylenol of a sort to take home and they're fine. And you hit them with a $4,500, if you're lucky, $4,500 potential surgery. And then you say, yeah, that's how we fix it. There's rarely who people that jump in and go, here's $4,500. Let's do it right now. So they really need to be, from marketing, terminology, nurtured into understanding the condition. So do you have it sort of in a chunk size that you can then insert it into your marketing campaign and kind of resend it to them? Or maybe I'm asking too much, but that's been my dream, something like that.
We'll make your dreams come true, Ivan.
Somebody has to.
Yay.
Our information prescriptions are typically post-diagnosis, which is the case in which you're giving this example. But yes, pet owners cannot always make a decision right away. They need to go and ponder it and think about it. So you need to send them home with something. So we do not currently have information prescriptions at the specific level you're speaking of, but we are extremely open and continuing to add to our library. So when our veterinary customers say to us, we'd really like X, we go to work and get it done. But the opposite side of our subscription model, where there's this digital education that veterinarians use, is our website. And we just launched an article the other day on limping and how do you assess limping and how do you help in the interim before you can actually get true treatment. And that's the kind of thing, it's not specific to the cruciate example you're giving, but it's giving a broad sense to a pet owner that there's a lot more to this and it's a lot more complex than you might think. And it gives them some at home consideration and observation to be more mindful. So those articles that we have on our site can be shared, and those are for free. They're on our site. And we have a tool in our veterinary dashboard called Vetted Search. You can search by keyword, you can search by body system, by age, obviously by species, and narrow down the content on our site that's very specific to what you're looking for, and then share it with your client.
And I want to take a kind of look into the future. So one of the things that's really interesting to me lately is generative AI and being able to produce high quality content in a short amount of time. Have you thought about that and the way that it may impact the work that you guys do?
Yes, AI, ChatGPT, all those things are, in my opinion, right now, excellent tools for the professional. They're excellent for people who know their stuff. It's not excellent for somebody who's searching for advice and looking to trust it. So, professionals, let's say, even on our team, who are going to structure a piece of content or do a presentation, I mean, so many people are doing this now, ask it, the AI generator to produce an outline. I want to discuss these topics. What's the hierarchy of it? And it's remarkable how impressive that content or that outline comes out. You then still need a qualified professional to suss out the stuff that isn't right. And there is still a certain amount of that. But it's exciting. I mean, it does cut down content creation. And you talked about it, Ivan, in terms of wanting to do that with your own practices and create all this content. It's very daunting. We do it on a daily basis. We're researching, adapting, changing our content for new modalities that are coming out there, and presenting these things in a pet owner friendly way. It's hard to do all of that.
Yeah, and I guess second question, like take me through the workflow of a veterinarian that's using your products and especially your digital ones, kind of post visit, to add that value to the veterinary visit after the waiting room, and how do you think maybe generative AI could assist in that workflow?
Well, I think generative AI incorporated into a PIMS system, but it doesn't even have to be that. I mean, the tools are there to be able to recommend resources that are specific to that client's situation. Everything from lifestyle to the specifics of the diagnoses and the age and life stage. So there are tools already that allow us to do that. I think AI, and this is for the developers to speak to, it can perhaps speed some of that stuff up. But when you're sending out a discharge note, to send things that they hadn't even thought of in terms of resources to check out. For example, I go back to the diabetes example. Somebody presents, they now have a lifelong maintenance program that they have to do with their pet, but they've been free feeding that cat for its entire life. Now you have to give injections. You are now faced with moving from a free feeding model to a meal model. How do you do that? And that's not necessarily easy, and it might not fit into their schedule. And so then compliance and the risk to the pet is a possibility. These things are often not shared. These types of resources are often not shared in a discharge note, whether it be a physical printout or a digital one. We're just sharing what is diabetes, and let me tell you about the condition, but we're not talking about the specifics of how somebody lives with it and complies with the treatment protocol. So if you have a library, a trusted library, and some PIMS systems have them baked in, make sure you're attaching those things. Make sure you're asking some of those leading questions in your exam room to suss out some of those difficulties in compliance, and attach those resources. It could be a YouTube video. I mean, it's just, and our vetted search tool, which is a free tool for veterinarians to use, we incorporate YouTube videos in there that we have, our medical team, our behavior team have viewed. We've made sure they're vetted, they're quality. So we've kind of done that work for you. It makes it quite simple to attach it to a discharge note.
Well, that's pretty cool. And we ran out of time as we usually do, but it's been a very interesting conversation. We always ask two questions at the end. One of them is there a YouTube video, a book, a TED Talk, or anything like that that you recently heard, listened to, and it inspired you?
Sure. Well, I watch and read a lot of things, but one book that I decided to pick up again recently was an old book. It's been republished now, and it's The Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. And while we don't really want to talk about how you sort of persuade people and the sales tactics and all of that, because I know veterinarians despise sales tactics, but there's human psychology in terms of how you make somebody feel. I'll give an example that the book exemplifies: giving a gift to somebody. We often give a gift as a reward for something they've done. So they bought a wellness plan, we now give them a gift. The book actually talks about how you should do that first. Give the gift when they come in to the practice, show that they're valued. Like if you're going to give a gift, give it, show they're valued. And now there's a reciprocity component to it, that they feel valued. And now when you ask them to buy stuff or subscribe to a plan or whatever, they feel more invested in that relationship. So it's just one example in the book. There are many, and it's quite fascinating to get into the psyche of human psychology.
That's awesome, man. Two last questions for you. One, if people want to understand more or learn more about Preventive Vet, how do they find out more information?
Yeah, so it's preventivevet.com. We have a tab for veterinary professionals. You go in there, you get access to our veterinary portal, and all our digital and physical educational resources are there for veterinarians to take advantage of. A lot of our stuff is free. I encourage everyone to check it out.
And then the last question is another innovator that you think we should have on the podcast.
Yeah, so at Preventive Vet, we are very focused on being part of access to veterinary care. There are millions of pets out there that are not getting health care because of the barrier cost. And truly, one of the reasons of burnout for many veterinarians is the fact that they're dealing with clients that don't have the money for the care. And that is a very daunting thing for them to deal with. Dr. Jeremy Prupus, who's the chief veterinarian for the Los Angeles region, is an innovator in changing the dynamic at the shelter level so that animals are not relinquished or euthanized because of medical reasons. And he's implemented programs that help with that and support the veterinary professionals in the area so they're not having to deeply, deeply discount or give away services for free. So he's dramatically changing that dynamic. I mean, 1 out of 5 people in LA are below the poverty line. So it's a big problem for this country, especially with the shortage of veterinarians and vet techs in our current and future state. There's a lot of things we have to do.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinaryinnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.